Today, I'm gonna show you guys the strongest thing you can use when it comes to battling Giardia in your dogs. I haven't seen anyone on YouTube do an episode talking about this. To my knowledge, it's the strongest thing out there, easiest and most effective. Stay tuned, you're not gonna wanna miss this episode of Breeders' Hacks, all right guys? I got you right now. What's going on, Bully fam? What's going on, Bully fam? It's your boy, the educator, the scientist, Mr. Double Muscle Line Bulls, bringing you another episode of Breeders' Hacks. So today, I wanted to do a follow-up episode on Giardia, right? So Giardia is a real pain in the neck protozoa, right? It's something that your dogs can get where basically, you oftentimes see it with dogs that eat their own poop, but they could just be out and about, being around other dogs, whatever the case may be. It's very easy for a dog to contract. And when you're dealing with Giardia, the dog is typically having a lot of diarrhea. So I'm gonna quickly go over the types of treatments that they've used in the past, they use now, so on and so forth. So generally, I'm gonna go right into it. Secnidazole. This is like, they did some studies with some animal shelters trying to find what would be the best drug that they could use to eradicate Giardia in shelter dogs, because they had a lot of dogs. They needed a treatment that would not be super expensive, not be super extensive, where you're giving it, you know, the treatment to the dog multiple times a day, things like that, so on and so forth. Secnidazole, that's what they tested out in shelters, and they found it to be extremely effective. It's as simple as one pill. It usually would eradicate the Giardia over the course of like a week. And then you could give a second one a week later to disrupt their cycle. Generally, it would get rid of the Giardia. One of the things that you need to try to do as the owner is make sure the dog isn't eating its own poop, so it's not reinfecting itself with the Giardia, because typically the Giardia, that's how the dogs, like we were saying, that's typically how the dogs continue to contract it. And it's super contagious. Like super contagious as far as other dogs being able to get it, and now next thing you know, you have a whole kennel, a whole yard of dogs that have Giardia. Now, something that I need to just throw out there, quick disclaimer, yet again, I'm not a vet, I'm just a breeder that's been doing this for the past decade. Definitely, any of this stuff, you want to make sure that you get your vet's opinion, you know, speak to them, consult with your vet, so on and so forth. I'm just speaking off of what has worked for us, what we've used here in supervision with our vet, and has worked phenomenal. So basically, with Giardia, like we said, we already discussed what the symptoms were. So symptoms is going to be the dog's going to have runny stool, diarrhea, could be somewhat explosive diarrhea. It can sometimes be mistaken for coccidia, which is a completely different thing, and you treat it completely differently. So you're gonna wanna confirm that it's Giardia. There's two ways to be able to confirm Giardia. You can use like a snap test, and I've done a video talking about showing how to use the snap test, which you can have at home. That's what I usually do to confirm if the dogs have Giardia. And I'm gonna show images of what the Giardia looks like so you can identify it. Is you can do a fecal flotation test. So basically, take a stool sample, and the samples wind up dividing because of the liquids that's inside of the flotation test. And now you're gonna go ahead and put that on a microscope slide, and you'll evaluate that underneath the microscope and see what organisms are inside the dog's poop. Vets can do that for you as well. If that's not something that you're into doing yourself, you could go to the vet simply and see if the dog is test positive for Giardia, and either they may do a snap test or they may do a fecal flotation test, but regardless, they're gonna look under the microscope or whatever test they may want to do and confirm if it's Giardia for you, or maybe if it's coccidia, or whatever the case may be. But we're gonna assume that it got confirmed for Giardia. With that being said, a lot of vets would prescribe Metronidazole. Back in the day, a lot of vets, and I still see some vets now, who would prescribe Metronidazole. The thing with Metronidazole is it's more, in my opinion, like an anti-diarrhea medication from what I've read in the veterinary drug handbook. So it will help mask the symptoms a little bit, but yet again, if we know it's Giardia, it's not really the dog, and the dog, it keeps eating its own poo, it's just going to keep reinfecting itself. We're just kind of hiding the symptoms. We're not really getting rid of the protozoa and the problem, right? I'm kind of against using Metronidazole. Now, you can use Metronidazole in conjunction with the Secnidazole, which I had said is probably the most effective, but I'm gonna say I don't really suggest using this for Giardia. The next thing now, So now over time, we make progress, right? We progress, we find medications that work better, right? So then vets started finding out that fenbendazole, hey, we can use fenbendazole, and it's a lot more aggressive. And I did a video on this talking about the different dewormers and stuff, because essentially it is a dewormer. So this is fenbendazole, aka Safeguard. You can buy these you can buy it on Amazon. Not only that, but this is for the goats. The Safeguard is for goats and like livestock. There's Panicure, which is for dogs, but it's the exact same thing, just different labels. So all you're looking for is fenbendazole. So if you want to get the over-the-counter version, get Safeguard. If you want to get the prescription one, then you would have to get Panicure, but they're both the same thing. So anyway, they found that fenbendazole can be used against Giardia. You could give it to the dog for, I believe, like 7 days or something like that, and it really helped minimize the symptoms and protozoa of Giardia. So that's what vets started using. But, you know, in my experience, when I first used Safeguard against Giardia, you had to give it to the dog for like 7 days, you know, from what we were told. So we did it for the 7 days, and it helped. But yet again, then in the future, when I came into dealing with Giardia again, I was told by a vet that I highly respect, and he's always studying and learning things as well. He's like, well, there's an easier way now. You don't have to necessarily give the dog fenbendazole for a week straight. They did some studies in animal shelters, because imagine Giardia is easily spread. It spreads very quickly and easily. Imagine if you have a whole animal shelter and everybody's got Giardia, and now every dog needs to get this every single day for 7 days a week. It gets crazy. Or imagine you're a breeder and you just got a lot of dogs, and now everybody's got Giardia. Like I said, I kind of had something like that happen, where one of the dogs got it and a whole bunch got it. So to do this for 7 days in a row, it can be rather difficult. So the alternative that they found was Secnidazole. Now, basically with Secnidazole, what they did in these animal shelters was they found that simply one pill, I'm not going to give the dosage or anything like that. You can, you know, do your homework and find that out online. Talk to your vet. Don't sue me. But with Secnidazole, they found that giving a treatment of Secnidazole, one pill, was eliminating Giardia way more effectively than Safeguard or Metronidazole. So when we used it, and actually I'm going to give you an example, is actually I taught one of my mentors about this as well, actually. Bulky Boat Chris Moore, he had a dog that just had extremely bad diarrhea, Giardia. It was crazy, right? And what happens is a lot of these different viruses, parasites, protozoa, things like that, they build resistance over time. That's like, I think what's going on right now with some of the flu and different viruses is they start to mutate and they get stronger. And the medicine that we used 10 years ago isn't quite as effective as what we use now. These are things that have been used for years and years and years and years. But now, in my opinion, the Giardia has become more resistant towards our older traditional methods. So with Secnidazole, like I said, they found it to be extremely effective. Now, the thing with Secnidazole is it may be a little bit difficult to get your hands on. You may need to speak with your vet, you know, and just say, hey, I went online and I found some studies and things like that and so on and so forth. And you can easily Google the studies that popped up with the animal shelters that were using Secnidazole. But anyway, you may have to consult your vet, because it isn't something that's super easy to get, but it's super effective. And I was fortunate enough to purchase, instead of like one pill for my dog, they were able to sell me an entire strip, which has like 6 of these, I believe, in here. Sometimes people get them, you could get them from Mexico, all kinds of stuff like that. So Secnidazole, and they found it to be extremely effective. One pill based off of the weight of the dog. So you do one treatment, whole week goes by, which is, it's just a pill. Another one just to stop the cycle, just in case there's any eggs after you killed the initial Giardia that's there. In case there's anything left over, you do it a week later, and poof. I mean, like I said, my mentor, he was dealing with the dog. He tried fenbendazole, metronidazole, nothing was working. So the Secnidazole was gone. So I haven't seen anyone do any videos talking about this. I think this is maybe something that's somewhat newer. I'm not sure. Like I said, we've used it. I've had people very close to me use it, and it's super effective against Giardia. I highly recommend consulting with your vet, speaking to them. If you have a really tough case of Giardia and it's not going away, or you're spending a ton of money on like Safeguard and other treatments because you're doing it for weeks on end. Because imagine if you treat for a week with this and the dog still has it, coming up positive, whatever the case may be, you'll have to do another week. So anyway, talk to your vets, see what they say about this. Do your own research, right? I highly recommend you do your own research. So don't just take my own word for it. But Giardia is a tricky, annoying little protozoa, but treated properly, you can get rid of it very quickly and easily. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to do this episode. Giardia plagues a lot of breeders and it's quite frustrating. I hope this information is helpful, hope it's useful, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Breeders Hacks. All right, guys.